for November 28th, 2025. It is a Friday. I'm coming back to you again live on a Black Spring mobile. And I guess I'm just gonna say, yesterday I was in and out of spots, and then in many ways I didn't fully recover for connection service, like just depending on the regions. If you're doing, of course, those of you that do any form of traveling, you will deal with some inconsistencies. I mean, whether you're going out into what they might call the country or whatnot, or the country or the country, back country, it's all country to me. So I dropped quite a few signals in between. So today, at least for a few miles. Oh, love to you. Watchman's here. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. So there's a couple things going on. Yesterday, I was talking about the tragic situation regarding the guards shooting in DC. And I wrapped that. I was trying to wrap that up. Thank you guys so much for coming in and loving on the like button. I was trying to wrap up that particular stream with just letting you know that we are I think we're on the brink of something, whether it's gonna be gradualistically, done. And I've said that, I say that all the time, and I say things season and cycle, and just kind of the same. The themes are always the same, but we might say it's a modern rhetoric is what we deal with. We once upon a time, you hear, for example, when they said climate change. Well, the modern rhetoric for climate change is climate crisis. And I've told you guys, even that has already morphed into, we've already given AI and its own entity, its own theme, its own modern rhetoric motif or cultural theme, which is an AI energy crisis. So for the longest, good morning, Latress Montgomery. Good morning to you. Thank you guys so much for coming in and loving on the like button, because that's how it gets done around here. So I'm saying these motives, they're not going to go away. They're just going to kind of keep seasoning and cycling. And so on top of that, we're dealing with overlapping rhetoric. Is what it is, essentially what it is. So I'm saying, I talked about once before the QRFs, that particular announcement that was released back in October from the Pentagon in terms of the number of troops. But the irony was, which to me wasn't ironic, it's very consistent. The Pentagon had already released that in order to quell, you got I call it, kind of the war on crime, the war on communities that are whatever. You had all these things going on with the ICE agents and just smash and grab occurrences, and they're already training. That particular notice from the Pentagon already bared out that they were training at least 500 National Guardsmen or women for QRF, and it was going to be 500. Most of the states would receive 500. I mean, I even got a little granular with it, and they broke it down to, like, what is it, like Puerto Rico would receive 100. Delaware, with it being the first state, it is going to only receive 250. And I guess any other of the the Virgin Islands, some of those parts of the empire, for the lack of a better phrase, will receive slightly less than that. But now with the tragedy, you got this classic narrative going on, with which my condolences for those for the fallen, and even just for in the whole, there's going to be 500. Was that Hegseth that said they're going to put 500 on the Capitol, so in DC. So there you go. You got 500 all the way around. So there, but to me, I would just think that, to me, it speaks volumes. It has a much greater, uh, there's a much greater implication there. It just seems like, can we really not even secure is our homeland that insecure? Is the homeland so insecure that you need to beef up security going into January 1st? So I said, with all of that, obviously they're anticipating there's something else to come. Okay, so that was kind of my round out on that. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I guess it was a young lady ended up passing away uh, as a result of yesterday's situation. So you guys can love on the like button if you're in here. I get it. We got monitoring spirits that are just coming out here, as they say. I don't know what in the YouTube streets, are not sure whether you're here to be a le voyeur or if you're just a monitoring spirit. I don't know why you're here. You could be anywhere in the world, but you are hovering around. Hello, Yogi Fish. Thank you so much for coming in. Like I said, you guys like, share, subscribe. If you really want to throw that caution to the wind, the sharing has a great impact on whatever I'm sharing, or whatever I am, whatever I'm bringing to the table. Okay, so I appreciate you guys. So there I was on that, and I may come back to that later. But what I want to speak to right now, just give you guys a little bit of recap on yesterday and the abruptness of the stream being ended or closing out abruptly there. So today I want to talk about this whole situation regarding, I heard about, they put nursing on the front of this idea that nursing would no longer be, according to the U.S. Department of Education, that nursing would not be considered a profession. Okay. But there again, you got to give, I got to have more context than that. So allegedly, this is all a part of the big, beautiful bill. And of course, they're lacing it with Republicans. That's a part of the Republican, a piece of the Republicans, one big, beautiful bill legislation, in which, from what I can tell, the gist of this is that there's about 11 professions that are excluded from that list of professional programs in which one might pursue a career in. Okay, so with that being said, of course, are you going to immediately, you're going to start trying to deduce, well, what information do I need to know about my own, background, or is my background affected? Okay, so this is the gist for me. Okay, and you do your own research. I say, reading will always be fundamental. It doesn't matter what global pandemic comes along. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what medications or vaccines they try to push in the future. It's still going to be fundamental for you to do your own research, for your own self-reliance. Self-reliance first. Read for yourself. Make up your own mind. I'm not even sure if I'm just telling you, I'm giving you my perspective based on my message. Okay? What is it? What's my philosophy? Why is it important? That's where I'm coming from. I'm not here to guide you. I'm not your leader. No, I'm not. I'm not any of that. I'm not laying my trip on you. But I do implore you to do your own research forever and ever, however long that is. Okay? So what I'm saying is, the gist of that is that this is related, allegedly, to them reducing, the insurmountable debt that one will encounter. So according to the big, beautiful bill, and to what came out of CBS News, is what I picked this one up from, is that if you're not on that list, if you're not among that list of 11, if you're among the list of 11 that are not on that particular list, if you're not on that list, if your profession's not there, then you will be essentially, your borrowing capacity will be half. Got to get out of the way. Okay. So your borrowing capacity for nursing, social work, teaching, um, like I'd love to get the State Department's. I'd probably have to go through that bill. I went through the bill. We did go through the bill on Black Spring with Autumn a while back, and we did it based on. We did go through it, but I did not see explicitly. I didn't see an actual list. We've already talked about the borrowing caps that are going to be in place, but specifically, it's looking like it's a little under $21,000 that you are going to be able to borrow, I think, upon entering, or at least graduate school. It's a little vague, the language that was provided by CBS. And in addition to that, your cap for education. If you're not a considered professional, your area is not considered a profession. It's going to be at $100,000. Okay, versus the other, which I think they're leaving the dentistry, the pharmacy, some of these other medical professions. Those are going to be left intact but they're going to have a cap as well, $50,000, and then their borrowing cap, I guess, over a lifetime is $200,000. So we're talking a difference between $100,000. But to me, what you're going to do is, you say you're all about saving money and reducing the debt. Well, does that also not mean that it's going to be impactful for all of these industries and for all of these colleges, which I think basically the elite are the ones that kind of established what was worthy of being a profession in the first place. You can go back to the early to mid 19th century, and even say, for instance, in the arts, it was around those times in which conservatories and schools of blah, 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 blah were even created. So in a modern world, you have a shortage. There's a shortage of doctors. There's a shortage of nurses, shortage of teachers. I mean, I will say, and in some ways, I'm going to say about half of that. Maybe I'll take that back. I think that you have a lot of people. Is there a shortage of that? Is there a true shortage of all of these professions? I don't even know if it's fair to say that, but you've got to realize that the modern day economy has contributed to the shortage. Okay, multi-factors. Well, it's a multifaceted situation in which these industries or these sectors have been affected. So I'm just saying, your borrowing capacity, they're allegedly using that piece from the One Big Beautiful Bill to basically try to cap the amount of loans that people are going to be able to even get. But when you think about it, what's $20,000? The average college these days? $20,000 may not be able to get you into a nursing program. $21,000 may not get you through the nursing program. It may not, depending on where you're going. They're not. The thing about it is, with all these shortages, nothing has been made. Nothing is more affordable because there's a shortage in education. Oh, I believe physical therapy is on that list as well. So physical therapy is another one that I saw on the list. Okay, so here's another thing. So if I want to go into demographics, I do believe that education, nursing, as well as physical therapy, those programs and those professions are very much saturated by women. And I don't know all the data, but I don't know the specifics on the data. If you guys want to go down the rabbit hole, take one rabbit hole at a time. But you're talking about a profession that has a high number of minorities and a high number of females that are in those particular fields. So it's just, I know a lot of people have made their lives. They've supported their families on these professions, and all of a sudden, if you're there, allegedly, let me back up here a second. even in that particular article from CBS, allegedly those that are already mid-program, like if you're in nursing, I guess, whatever, teaching, allegedly there's some type of grandfathering that you might have because it's July 26, okay? I saw the date. It's July 1 of 26, in which this particular this particular piece is going to take effect. Okay, July 1st of 2026. So if you're already in your program, I don't know, mid-program, or I don't know where the beginning of the grandfathering is. That's what I don't know. I do know that it's effective July 1 of 2026. I did see that. So keep that in mind. I'm not all about, I like to try to give things context, because whether that the case will be or not, whether it's going to be fully what they say, how things are going to pan out, but that's necessary. It's necessary to have context when we're talking about these things, because nobody's going to go out and quit nobody's going to go out and quit their teaching job, much less these people that are already in these programs, nursing programs, physical therapy programs, social work programs. Now they can't afford to go out and quit. They cannot afford to make a career change, because you just changed the game on them. You keep moving the goalpost. And that's what's happening in our American economy and in our society, because the goalpost just keeps getting moved. It gets moved on Social Security. It gets moved on professions. It gets the common man. The goalpost is constantly moving, shifting and bipping and bopping and weaving all of the time. So I guess my message is, no one is safe. Okay? It doesn't matter whether you happen to be a doctor. None of it matters. Your ability to support yourself, all of that is going to change. Now, allegedly, the previous administration, they allegedly more funding was expanded for things like Pell Grants. I'm talking about under the Biden administration. Okay, I gotta give you that. I gotta give you the dialectic, just because that's where we started. Okay, in order for me to trace and track, I gotta step back. Okay, so I'm saying under Biden, there was talk of expansion of Pell Grants and blah 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 blah. At the same time, you got this. So here you go. You're foobarring the people that are already mid-career. So if you're mid-training in your nursing program or teaching or physical therapy or social work program, you really can't afford to back out of it now and say, hey, I'm going to go get a degree in something. You could, but you're going to still have a cap. There's a cap for everything. $200,000. $200,000 is the max that you're going to be able to deal with. If your career path is considered profession, you've got $100,000 more to deal with than somebody that's not a part of the professions anymore. Hello, old head juice coming in hot. I'll get your guys' comments as soon as I can. Right now, I'm dealing with the shopping monkeys or whatever, the flying monkey, shopping monkey, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, but I'm just saying that everyone is going to be affected. The way people carve out a plan for their career, I would suggest make a decision now, so that you don't have to lump yourself into a labor fixed debt scenario. Make your decision right now. Don't wait until they move the goalpost again, or don't get comfortable and say, "Oh, I'm safe. I chose blah 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 behind door number 5." No. You probably need to make another decision right now about what your matriculation path is, or what it's going to be. I think when you tell somebody that, these are the thankless jobs. There are thankless jobs. Think about teaching and nursing and all these things. No job just deals in one domain. You end up wearing many hats when you're dealing. If you're a nurse or a teacher, you listen to people's problems. You listen to people's. You become You're a first responder. You're an educator. You're a psychologist. You're a counselor. You're some type of therapist to somebody all of the time, no matter what pathway, whether it came in visually, whether it came in an auditory perception that you got it. That's what it is. But you're never going to fully replace. You're never going to replace these actual. You might, but you'll do it. You'll do it under AI. But the human touch and the quality of the human touch is significantly reduced right now. I said that about those professions and who's occupying demographically, but I'm also saying that the quality of those particular professions is definitely in a slump. It's very poor. If you had to go to an urgent care, you're already faced with your chances of seeing a doctor, which I'm not taking anything away. I can't take anything. I can't give a nurse practitioner anything, but I can't take anything away from them either. But I will say, you're going to get, your chances are higher than ever that you will end up with a nurse practitioner. And there's a lot of, to me, some of these people to me just don't, depending on what your service is, you have poor bedside manner. Your triage nurses are very short. You're not getting you're not getting that kind of human touch, that bedside manner that you might have seen 25, 30, 40 years ago. You're not going to get that. You're not. Nine out of 10, you're not. A lot of times you'll get somebody in there that's so glad that they're allowed to put on a white coat and say that they're your nurse practitioner for the day, that they start throwing their trip on you, or they start, it's kind of ridiculous. And you have some people that are in the wrong profession. A lot of the office managers in your doctor's offices, in your doctor, can I say the doctor physician's office proper, is poor in quality right about now. So I'm just saying there's a decline there's a decline everywhere. You're finding people are doing professions, I think now it's a survival. We're all in survival mode at the end of the day. And we're all trying to be as resilient as we can, whether the goalposts moved or not. That's what we're trying to do. So I would say, if you're out here looking for a career, you might want to go on. You might want to find out what's on that list. And I'm saying, do I have the answers for a recession-proof career? No. Do I have the answers to a pandemic-proof career? No. Do I have the answers to a U.S. Education Department funding cut-free career? No, I don't. But I'm saying you might want to look at the whole picture and create a plan so that you either don't end up in debt, or that you don't end up in a career that's a pit that does not yield. Like most of us, you're not going to make $1 million doing most of these jobs, not even as a teacher. As humble of a profession as it is, you're not going to make $1 million doing that. And that's another reason, to me, that didn't attract people to teaching and nursing in the first place. I think now that we have this keep up with the Joneses kind of society, people want as much money as they can make, as fast as they can make it. They feel like they need to overbuy. They need to buy more house than they need to buy. They need to buy 10-bedroom houses and there's 2 people occupying it. They need to buy damn near 6-figure vehicles that they absolutely don't need. that depreciated when they drove off the lot. You know, there's just our society between social media, Instagram, all of these reality TV shows. Uh, that's an oxymoron in itself. Reality TV. Yikes. I'm telling you, it's not, there's nothing set in stone. Nothing. And that's why I implore you guys, do your own research, read. I don't read to react. You know, you might read, read to read for understanding, read to analyze. Make sure you start with the reading, right? But anything else is not, we don't do that. I just, like I said, I have to, but I'll probably go through some more. I'll probably go back into that. I'll go to the U.S. Department of Education and see if I can find the actual list. I think that'll be important to put to post. Because I don't like to, I like to try to, I like to give information so that you can not only, you can read it for yourself, but you also, you need to read it with, you need to have a greater perspective in mind. And that's necessary. I'm not in the business of reporting I'm not a reaction content creator. No. Just look at the narrative. See how it's going to affect you. Read it get the facts first. Get the facts. Get it on the lower level, but then you got to level it up. Talk about, my background, Bloom's taxonomy all day long. You got to be able to get that lower level is just the reading, the explanation, but that other piece, you do your diligence. So I'm saying, that's kind of my shtick on that. And I'm sure I'll look into it more, but with the demands in education and nursing and the healthcare industry, I think that we are we've all been kind of herded into like kind of going off of a cliff a little bit. Like they got everybody on the chain, and then they're going to it's all going to take us to the same place. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to be, because I told you guys once before during COVID, it was supposed to be Hong Kong. I think a lot more of the South Pacific has already embraced AI. I do believe Hong Kong, it was Hanson Electronics. It was their goal during COVID to generate tens of thousands of robots to do the job of physical therapy, to work with the seniors. And see, that's another part of, I think here again, the American memory gets to be so fickle that as soon as they put everything back online, because to me, COVID was just another startup / shutdown. Same thing, okay? Yin and yang. It had two sides. Both sides of the coin were there, okay? So everything that they wanted to do, they've already given you a preview of where they wanted to go. Now they're just still on the process of trying to get there. Are they going to get there by 2030? Now I guess that's the bigger question. At this point, I think it's definitely mankind. I'm not even sure if mankind, with the way we are, with the way our society is, if mankind is even in a position to change anything. Some part of the populace will, but are you going to be in a position to, like I said, during the shutdown startup offline, when it came to ATC and all the things that were coming out about they needed to get back to work, whether they were being paid or not, whether they were tired or not, eventually they were going to force them. They were going to try to use some type of force. And I'm not talking about a physical kind of force. When the common man actually when the common man can actually, create a little bit more of a conflict, can create more internal conflict in these narratives, the government knows that that's when they can step in. They can strong hand. That's when that strong hand of the government comes in, when the resistance from when mankind starts to affect their narrative. Because right now we are still we're on their narrative. We're not in, we're no, no. We move based on when they start up, shut down. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming in and loving on the like button right now. I'm seeing about 3 people that are either actively watching or whatever, however you're watching. I appreciate it. If you're just listening, um, great. But love on the like button when you can, okay? Because that's what gets it done around here still, okay? Because this is not going to go out to the masses, but we want to reach whoever we can, who wants to listen or who wants to watch when that time is, available. So yeah, I'm just saying. So far I've kind of done a recap on yesterday on the narrative regarding, you got the heroism, you've got the patriotism, you've got all these things that they want you to be emotionally, and they want you to be invested in. But it's also a very fear type. When there's any type of shooting, there's always going to be that fear, and that drives the narrative itself. So it automatically goes back to the hands of the politicians, to the government, to the powers that be. It automatically goes back into their hands on how they want to shape that narrative. Okay, how they want it to go forward. Okay, so what happens now? So I'm going back to yesterday's situation. So what happens now? Does that mean that there will be more gun laws that are enacted based on what happened? Anything could happen in these situations. It's not going away. But I do think that the next few weeks before the end of the fact that they've beefed up the security in DC, and I'm not sure that I hear that was it Muriel Bowser, is it Bowser, the mayor of DC? If I'm not mistaken, I'm hearing that she's not running for re-election. I think I'm hearing that. We're gonna see. That's what we're gonna see. I'm not sure if that will also, if they will go back to their vessel on, eliminating crime, and I'm not sure. And if that means, more gun legislation, taking more, guns out of the hands of the people, whatever. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that the next few weeks to come will be to watch. You probably got to pay attention. At points, you're going to hear me do an echo chamber. That's another reason why I have that secondary quote column in quote echo and insight, because every now and then, after I run things through the x-ray machine, we will revisit these situations. And if you feel the need, if you would like to send me anything yourself, if you want your piece read, if you want to send an email, send a story, blackspringwithautumn@gmail.com. We can feature your piece on the echo chamber, whatever you want, whatever you would like to do. Okay. And then shout out to Realize. Wow. Realize sent me a huge piece a few days ago, and I'm still working on that piece, but there's a lot to digest there. And thank you for that. I appreciate it when you guys send things. Shout out as well to Derek C. Williams. I really appreciate it, Derek C. Williams. For those of you, because you guys contribute to the engagement on here, and I appreciate it all. So I'm just thinking, we're at a pivotal time right now, and I think it's going to be all the way. I think if anything, you might want to make some decisions you might want to create your own benchmarks and your own and your own path for many things before 2030. That would be my advice. Whether it be your finances, whether it be your home life, your finances, your education, if you have family, the same, all of it. You might want to have some type of benchmark or some type of plan in place, something that you're working towards because I do believe that I think once the shifting of the goalpost ends, then we will be closer to their goal. I said that. I talked about here I am doing a little bit of an echo chamber right now. I'm going back to the piece that we read, that we talked about with Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, talked about how they were going to be, since the shutdown. Oh, all of a sudden now they're rolling out, what was it, $1 billion they're going to be spending in airports and new technologies across the country at airports. I mean, and this made me think right away, okay, well, when was TSA installed into the airports? That went back to what? Was that 2001? Will this technology replace some of these TSA agents? Because eventually there won't be another shutdown. And I think that the AI will be that efficiency that they're talking about, it will be completely managed with AI. Rear view camera disconnected. So yeah, rear view camera connected. You guys, never mind that. That's not. Oh boy, that's not for you. But yeah, so I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And if I have anything else to share with you, I will come back possibly later, because this is the day after a holiday. I think a lot of us, whether we celebrated or not, we were at least able to, have enough break to have gain some perspective on what's going on. All right, let's see. Old Head Deuce, thank you so much for coming in. Watchmen, I'm going to read your comment soon. Let's see, who was that coming in? Said nurses are not waitresses. Maybe a business decision. Well, they put a lot of people in place. Like, to me, I've talked about when I did the piece on the U.S. Department of Education's the head of the Department of Education, Linda McMahon. I don't think, here again, she posed the question. She gave an excellent question, in which she said that she put it out there that she didn't think that education needed to be in the hands of somebody sitting in Washington. So she said that she didn't think that education needed to be in the hands of somebody sitting in Washington. Well, and that means they're passing them off with this interagency agreement. And that, oh, by the way, the Department of Labor, which is an agency that they're passing things off, whether it's grants or whatnot or funding, saying that they have better technology. See, everything's going to be done under the auspices of technology until it's all done, until the actual, to me, installation is complete. All right, guys, Latressa Montgomery, Yogi Fish, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm probably going to come back later. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you guys for loving on the like button. And if you like what you're hearing, or if I said something that was thought-provoking, thought-inspiring, gave you a different perspective, then I appreciate you for coming in and lending me your ear. Or if anything resonated with you or echoed with you, share it out, like, and subscribe. All right, guys. Bye for now.